So scrolling through your social media feed, I saw that you were talking about this protest, and I thought, good on you, because no one else really is. And I think for a lot of Republicans, especially talking about union issues and workers' pay, it's almost kryptonite in many circles. But we have to remember it was the blue collar workers that got Trump elected. And now it seems like the GOP is reverting back to its old ways by ignoring these hardworking Americans. So what is your response to this anger we're seeing being directed at BlackRock?
Well, the anger is very justified. I mean, these workers, as you pointed out, they're the ones that salvaged this coal company by taking hits to their benefits, hits to their pay, and then working additional hours. And now that the company's been restored, has become profitable again. All they're asking for is to be paid an honest day's wages for their hard work. It's very reasonable. And these people right here, they are our base, the hardworking men and women of this country that work in our natural resources sector out here in the Pacific Northwest. It's our timber industry that's been absolutely gutted, but our energy sector is absolutely critical. The coal industry is absolutely critical. And we should be sticking up for these people, because at the end of the day, if our elected officials aren't working to support hardworking men and women, aren't the American people, then who are they supporting? And the answer is very clear. It's the major hedge fund holders, the asset companies like BlackRock. And, it'd be one thing if these giant companies actually had some sort of sense of duty to provide for their people, to provide for their country. But as you pointed out, they have ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and really they're just working to benefit themselves. They're taking the money that they're making from these coal miners and they're buying up all kinds of housing to make it incredibly difficult for these same Americans to purchase homes and actually own a part of this country. It's criminal, and I think the America First movement is going to stick up for these people. It's our absolute duty and our responsibility.
And I think because you are sticking up for a lot of these people, do you think that kind of, that it gives you an edge perhaps over a lot of these rhino and establishment types that we see right now in the Republican Party, especially the Congresswoman that you're running to unseat, Congresswoman Butler? Do you think that's kind of what differentiates you from the rest of the crowd when it comes to the GOP?
It absolutely is. So Congresswoman Butler, she gets most of her major donations from Kevin McCarthy, Mitt Romney, these establishment country club Republicans who are also getting their money from these massive corporate donors who've done nothing to change the tide in this country. They've done nothing to bring back our natural resource jobs, to bring back our manufacturing jobs. Instead, they're getting money from Amazon. They're getting money from Big Pharma. They're getting money from all these major corporations that really just view the average Americans as serfs and as just cogs in their corporate wheel. And they want to continue to give power to the permanent ruling class, whether that's the permanent ruling class of the Republicans, the Democrats, the administrative state, or the oligarchs in Wall Street and the technocrats that run big media companies. That's why I think this issue just isn't getting as much coverage, because the left wing isn't going to cover it because it's coal, and so therefore it's dirty. They won't touch it because it's not part of the Green New Deal. And then a lot of folks in traditional conservative media, they don't want to touch it because they're not supposed to be on the sides of the labor unions. They're supposed to be on the sides of Wall Street. So who's going to speak up for the little guy? Who's going to speak up for the deplorables? I think that's America first. That's our role, and that's our duty.
I know for the longest time, I look at a lot of the GOP leadership that we currently have, and I think that they are embarrassed by us. I mean, they use us every couple of years when it's election time, and they talk about, the little guy who's being crushed by the scary left and by government. And yet, when it actually comes down to who we are as people and individuals, they almost seem embarrassed by many of us, and they seem almost embarrassed to be caught dead supporting us. And that's something that's really concerned me. So I'm glad that you're breaking out of that mold. I see that you do a lot of campaign events all across your district that you're looking to represent in Washington. So when you go to these events and you're meeting with everyday regular Americans, what have you learned so far on the way? And what are a lot of these people asking you that are some of the biggest issues that they're facing?
So the number one issue, no matter where I go in the district, is election integrity. Everyone knows that there was widespread fraud in 2020, and they want that fully adjudicated. They support the Patriots down in Maricopa County. They support the Patriots in Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. The list goes on. So that's the number one issue. But after that, it's the America First agenda. It's bringing back our natural resource sector jobs. It's bringing back our manufacturing. What President Trump started to do, we actually saw working class wages rise from 2017 to 2020. So President Trump broke the mold. He did what every politician in my lifetime said was impossible. All the establishment politicians said that these working class jobs, these blue collar jobs, manufacturing, it was the thing of the past. You couldn't do it. They said it like it was a law of nature, like it's impossible for it to come back. But really, it was human decisions. It was decisions by our elites that made this happen. So people realize that if we band together and we elect America First leaders and politicians that we can get these manufacturing jobs back. I think it's the economically right thing to do for our country because there's systemic issues right now that our country just doesn't produce anything. We have inflation, but I think it's really stagflation like we had in the 70s because our economy is completely hollow. It's a national security issue because we saw during COVID, all of our production lines are tied up overseas with our number one geostrategic enemy. But also, to me, at the end of the day, it's a moral issue. Who does government support? Does it support our people or does it just support the economy? I argue strongly that we are a sovereign nation and not just an economy.